Good morning. I'm harleysch from the LaRouche organization with your daily video update for February 29th, 2024. I won't remain silent. These were the words of Brazil's President Lula da Silva when asked if he stood by his comments that Israel's policy toward the Palestinians reminds him of Hitler's policy toward the Jews. There's lots of talk from Netanyahu all of a sudden about the so-called day after, what the plan will be. And by the way, it's not a plan, it's just a continuation of the same policy of suppression of Palestinian rights, Israeli settlement, and a rejection of a Palestinian state. But while this talk is going on, the murder of innocents in Gaza and the West Bank is continuing. For a nation which has proclaimed its outrage at the killing of innocent civilians by Hamas on October 7th, one must ask, where is this outrage over the slaughter of thousands of children, Palestinian children, and the growing number of deaths by starvation as a result of the deliberate withholding of food? Where is that outrage in Israel? Do Netanyahu and his band of fanatics committed to depopulating Gaza really believe that peace can be achieved through commission of genocide, of wiping out a people and a nation? Their willful slaughter confirms the belief of those who insist that Israel has adopted the same approach to the so-called Palestinian problem that Hitler adopted to deal with the so-called Jewish problem. Does never again not apply to Palestinians? Yesterday, I received an email from a viewer who asked if the failure of governments, such as the US, the UK, the governments of the European Union, if the failure to act to stop the killing means that their leaders, like Biden, Blinken, Macron, and Schultz, do, quote, not hear the cries of children, nor see the pain and despair in the eyes of their mothers, unquote. Well, one leader who is not deaf and blind is Brazil's President da Silva. And I know there's some of you who dismiss da Silva, Lula, as a socialist, as a communist, as a radical. But I think it's important to listen to his words because he was speaking as a president of a great nation, a member of the BRICS, but also as a human being. And here's what he said. He was asked if he would walk back the statements he made, likening Israel's actions against the Palestinians in Gaza to Hitler's actions against the Jews. Here's what he said, quote, I would say the same thing again, because that is exactly what is happening in the Gaza Strip. People can't be so hypocritical as to think that one death is different from another. You don't have in Gaza one highly trained army fighting against another highly trained one. What you have, Lula said, in fact, is a war of a highly trained army against women and children. He went on to say that Brazil was the first country to condemn the Hamas terrorist attack on October 7th. But then he said, I can't condemn Hamas's terrorist action and then watch the state of Israel commit the same barbarity against innocents through its army and its prime minister. What are we calling for, he asked. Stop the shooting. Let food, medicine, doctors, and nurses come in. Set up a humanitarian corridor. Now, Lula wasn't finished. He continued. I never expected the government of Israel to understand. I never expected it, he said, because I've known Netanyahu for some time now. I know how he thinks ideologically. He then went on to say that he visited Israel after October 7th. He visited the kibbutzim and met with the hostage families and understands how painful the situation is for them, and that he would never confuse the Jewish people with their government. But he said, quote, it's not just one side that feels pain. The whole world feels pain, unquote. And then he came back to his original statement. Here's how he ended. He said, what I want to say loud and clear is the following. The Prime Minister of Israel is committing genocide against women and children. That is a historical fact. I consider it a genocide because a well-trained army is attacking a defenseless part of society. Look at what has happened before the eyes of the world. The Israeli government effectively seeks to remove the Palestinians from the Gaza Strip and exterminate the Palestinian people's territorial space to occupy it themselves. There is no other explanation. Just read the testimony of the director from Doctors Without Borders and you'll see what's happening. Take the testimony of the Red Cross, of the child saying he'd prefer to die than be treated the way they are treated. Is this genocide or not? And he concluded by saying, I will not remain silent in the face of genocide. Well, there's another human being who refused to be silent, and he delivered a shock when he set himself on fire outside the Israeli embassy in Washington, saying he refuses to be complicit in genocide. He was U.S. Air Force member Aaron Bushnell. Now, whether you agree with what he did or not, his action has forced the defenders of Netanyahu out into the open. Instead of asking what could have driven a young man, an American soldier, to give his life, the defenders of genocide are slandering him in a vain attempt to minimize the action and to silence him after he's gone. They're showing how lacking in human qualities, such as empathy and love of our fellow man, they are. And that's what you see from the Western governments. That's what you see from the NATO officials who want to continue the slaughter of Ukrainians in a policy of a proxy war to weaken and diminish Russia. That's what we see in the defense of the Biden administration, which refuses to call it genocide, which refuses to even call for a ceasefire, which is continuing arms shipments and flow of money to the Netanyahu government, which is killing defenseless women and children. Do they really believe that the killing of children and women will bring peace to Israel? Well, I leave you today with one thought. Isn't it time that you speak out? Since the children of Gaza are not heard, since the governments are turning a blind eye and a deaf ear to the sights and sounds coming from that besieged territory, isn't it time that you became a voice for justice, that you participated in a discussion process to pull humanity back from diving over the cliff into the acceptance of a genocide? We have to act to defeat the war machine. We have to act to bring about a new security architecture and a new development architecture to give the children who are facing tanks and bullets and drones, who are being denied food, we have to give them hope for the future. And that depends on what you do and what you say. I'm going to be appending to the description section today of this update the discussion I had with Helga Zepp-LaRouche yesterday, where she very passionately discussed these issues that I've just presented. So thanks for joining me. Tomorrow's Friday. I'll take your questions and comments. Let me know what you think about this. Let me know if you're willing to break the silence. You can send me your questions and comments at harleysch@gmail.com. Hello, thanks for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our videos. Support our independence to produce videos like these. Become a member of the LaRouche organization at thelarouche.org/member. By becoming a member for $25 or more, you'll get special access to the EIR Alert Daily Briefing and Weekly Magazine, which is what I read to stay on top of things.